my top 10 protein-packed breakfasts listed for you with videos. Hello and welcome to Amanda Widener Wellness. My name is Amanda. I'm so excited to have you here. On this channel, we talk about all things weight loss, weight management, tools like GLP-1s, fitness, nutrition, and everything in between. Today, I have a list of my top 10 favorite protein-packed breakfasts, including videos of each of them while I talk about them and explain what's in each recipe, what the calorie, protein, and fiber breakdown is of each of them, and a little bit about why I enjoy it so much. But before I get into the video, I do have a disclaimer. I'm not a doctor or a healthcare provider, and while I am a personal trainer and group fitness instructor, I'm not your personal trainer or group fitness instructor, so please speak with your doctor and wellness team before making any changes to your diet, exercise, or medication regimen. Everything on this channel is based on my opinions and experiences. And if you haven't already, I would love for you to take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel, as it really helps me grow this community so that I can continue bringing you more videos just like this one as we grow and build together. I really appreciate your support. All right, so let's dive into this list. I have a list that I've put in order of my personal favorites. So this is really just things I enjoy, but from number 10 all the way up to number 1. So you don't want to miss the number 1 item on my list. It is my absolute favorite breakfast item since I've started on my wellness journey. So if you haven't seen my other videos, I started my wellness journey in November of 2024. At the time, I was 284 pounds. Over time, I managed to lose a little bit of the weight on my own, and then I started on a GLP-1. I have multiple autoimmune diseases. I've struggled with obesity throughout my life, regardless of my career in fitness. And so the GLP-1 has really helped me to manage my appetite and my hunger cues so that I'm able to have a lifestyle that I've been wanting and trying to live for years, where my body was fighting me on it. So while I've been on this journey, I have gotten really creative in the kitchen. I have always loved to cook, but I used to tend to really lean into very sweet things, which I still have a sweet tooth, and also very high fat foods. So, I really loved like a nice savory, buttery flavored item, or like lots of cheese. And I just don't eat that way anymore. Once I started kind of making small changes to the way that I ate, especially breakfast, I noticed that I tend to crave these other foods more and more. And so it was not the easiest of adjustments at first, because I wanted to eat like a super cheesy eggs with a bunch of greasy bacon and that sort of stuff in it. And it just doesn't agree with me anymore. But over time, I've leaned more into whole foods that are full of protein and have lots of fiber, so that I feel full and satiated throughout the day. I'm able to go from meal to meal without thinking about what I'm going to eat next. Instead, I just get to live in the moment and live my life and enjoy it. I'm not tempted to run to the pantry and snack throughout the day, or if I get a whiff of something that smells really good, I don't feel like I have to have that right now. Changing the way that I eat has gone hand in hand with all of the other small changes that I've made to lead to a 100 and almost 12-pound weight loss over the past 16 months. And so I've found that making these small dietary changes and finding foods I really, really like that are higher in protein and higher in fiber have made these adjustments easier to maintain over time. And that's the goal here, right? We want these changes to last long term. And so we want to enjoy the foods that we're eating. So I try to really plan my meals, at least one meal for breakfast, one meal for lunch, one meal for every couple of days throughout the week. But sometimes I'll plan multiple breakfasts and multiple lunches, and then I'll freeze half of what I make so I don't get tired of eating the same thing every day. But I want to really enjoy what I'm eating. I want each meal to feel really satisfactory, and like I almost like I went to a nice restaurant and got a meal there, but without all the other additives that happen when you eat out, right? So I kind of make it like a moment of my day. I used to really just like sit down and I'd watch a video and I'd scarf food down my throat, and then I would sit back later and not even remember eating it. And now I kind of make it more of a routine where I sit, I take a moment to really look at what I'm eating. I savor the food. I enjoy it. I enjoy the taste of it, the texture of it, the moment that I'm in, and then I'm satisfied and I can move on. And so part of that change has been enjoying these meals and going through the process of finding these meals over the past 16 months. So I've done a lot of like making foods that I've seen on TikTok and Instagram and different channels that I was following on YouTube, and then I tweak the recipes over time. or something that I was making from one of those recipes, I would get like this light bulb moment of, I wonder if I could do X, Y, and Z, and if that would make it this other way, right? So I wonder if I could take this egg scramble recipe and change it and put these other ingredients in it and cook it this other way, if it could make these egg bite things that I want to make, right? So some of these are my own recipes. One or two of them, I know one for sure is someone else's recipe, and I'll make sure to link that in the description below. I want to give credit where it's due, because coming up with recipes that are delicious and come from whole foods and leave you satisfied and feeling like it's something that can help you maintain your wellness journey for the duration of your life is something that's worth recognizing. And so I want to give them the credit where it's due. So let's dive into this list. Enough jibber jabber from me. So number 10 on my protein-packed breakfast list is a protein smoothie. So some days I just don't have a huge morning appetite. In fact, over a year ago, I used to skip breakfast most mornings. So not the greatest start to my day. No wonder I was making up calories in the back end of my day. I was under eating all day long, and then I would get to like mid-afternoon and I would just be ravenous. So I always want to have something. So if I'm coming up on a day where I'm not as hungry, I'm going to have something a little bit lighter. Those days when I'm not as hungry tend to fall in the warmer months. I live in the Southeast. I'm in the Charleston, South Carolina area. And so when it's really hot in the morning, it just zaps my appetite, especially if I was out for a walk early in the morning. That's one of my favorite habits. I drop the kids at school, and then when it's warm outside, and then before the sun comes blazing up, I walk on the shaded paths in my community. And then I come home and it's time to like shower and get ready for work, and I need to eat something, but my appetite might not be huge. So on those really hot days, a protein smoothie is a great place to go. So what I do is I take some frozen fruit. It's usually frozen strawberries and frozen blueberries, half of a banana, maybe some kale, some frozen kale or some fresh spinach, a little bit of water, between half a cup and a cup. You could use almond milk if you prefer, and then a scoop of protein powder. I tend to use the Premier Protein vanilla powder. I feel like it doesn't have that much of a proteiny taste to it. It's relatively affordable and it's packed with protein, so it's nice and easy to use. But I'll throw all of that in a blender and I mix it up. And sometimes I'll add a little bit of extra ice depending on how many frozen pieces of fruit are in there or not, if it needs to be a little extra crispy. I like my smoothies to have a little crunch to them so that they're nice and thick. So I blend those up and then I put it in a to-go cup and take it with me if I'm on the go, or I can put it in like a nice pretty cup and I'll sit down and enjoy it with a cup of coffee. Now, protein smoothies are a little bit lower in calories. So if I'm having just a protein smoothie, I'm probably going to have it with a Proffee. So I always have a cup or two of coffee every day, and I'll take a protein shake, generally one of the Premier Protein like ready-made shakes, and I'll pour half of it in one cup of coffee instead of creamer, and then the other half in my second cup of coffee, and that will get me an extra 30 grams of protein and a little less than 200 extra calories to start my day. So I'm nice and ready to go into my workouts or running around town, doing things for my kids, that sort of thing. So just the protein smoothie at number 10, if I do strawberries, blueberries, kale, water, and protein powder, is about 218 calories, 16.5 grams of protein, and 6 grams of fiber. So a pretty steady way to start the day. Lots of fiber in there, but it is low in calorie and it's moderate protein. But if I throw in the extra 30 grams with my Proffee, I'm off to a great start with protein, and that's a pretty sufficient breakfast, around 400 calories. All right, let's talk about number 9. Number 9 on my list is homemade toast. So I make a homemade loaf of gluten-free bread in my bread maker. It could be white bread, it could be brown bread, whatever. In the video that I have here, this is a white bread, but I make a loaf of bread. I slice it really thin. I prefer homemade bread. It's not as spongy, it doesn't tear. And gluten-free bread, I have to be gluten-free. Gluten-free bread from the store tends to be really tiny little pieces at a high calorie count versus these nice big pieces if I make it in my bread maker at home. So I like the homemade bread, but you could use any bread. If you are able to eat gluten, and you can have some sourdough. Sourdough is a fantastic bread, but just some nice toast, some slim pieces of toast, toasted up nice and crispy with a nut butter on it. Now, I'm a peanut butter girl. I'm old school. So I love to just put a little bit of peanut butter, maybe some honey peanut butter on there, just something a little bit, nostalgic, if you will, but I do like other types of nut butter. So you could use almond butter or cashew butter. You could even use like sun butter if you wanted to use that. But I like peanut butter. That's what I put in this. And then I serve it with a couple slices of turkey bacon. So one slice of turkey bacon is considered a serving, but it's not quite enough for the bacon craving. So I'll put 2 slices on there and then 1 egg with 1 egg white. And then I'll take some fresh raspberries and put those on top of the toast with the peanut butter. Sometimes I mash those raspberries down so it's almost more like a jam substitute. And sometimes I'll just leave them on there fresh. Raspberries are a great source of fiber and they're very low in calories. So they're a great addition to any breakfast, especially if you're looking to add on some fiber. So this toast with peanut butter, turkey bacon, 1 egg white, and raspberries is about 586 calories. It's 28.5 grams of protein and 6 grams of fiber. So this is a great breakfast for a morning when I'm gonna go do some heavy working out. So if I'm gonna go for my walk and then maybe it's one of the days where I teach 2 classes back to back, this is gonna keep me fueled up until I get home and I've showered and I'm ready for a really late lunch. So it is higher in calories than a lot of my other breakfasts, but the protein content is nice and high and it's got that nostalgia. So it made number 9 on my list. Number 8 is 1 egg white with cottage cheese. So I kind of scramble that up and cook it into scrambled eggs. It gives it this nice fluffy texture. You get your 1 egg with the yolk in there and then 1 egg white to give it extra volume at only 17 extra calories, but extra protein. And then when you add in the cottage cheese, it makes it nice and fit that cheesy eggs consistency without all of the added calories and fat of regular cheese. And it's packed full of protein. So I absolutely love this. I typically serve it with a turkey sausage patty and then some fruit. About a cup of strawberries and like half a cup to a quarter cup of blueberries. Maybe I'll throw some raspberries, something like that in there from time to time. But what we have here in the video is about 316 calories, 23.2 grams of protein, and 5 grams of fiber. So that's a fantastic start to the day. Really great calorie range for my goals. It's got a really decent amount of protein in there and 5 grams of protein to start my day. So I really enjoy this meal and it's really nice and easy to put together. It's quick, which is nice on a really busy morning. Number 7 on my list is a breakfast burrito. So I don't make these very often, but they are always delicious and really satisfying. So I get a gluten-free tortilla. Mission makes my favorite, but you could use a regular tortilla. They even have low carb options that are lower in calorie if that's something you're looking for. But I take that tortilla and then I get a hash brown patty. I like to use the Orida ones. I cook them in the air fryer, but you could even put them in the toaster. And then once they come out kind of crispy, you can leave them whole or you can mash them down to give them more of like regular hash brown texture on your tortilla. And then I'm going to add a cut up, like sliced in half, turkey sausage patty, 1 egg and 1 egg white that's been fried, or sometimes I'll go ahead and give myself 2 whole eggs if I'm feeling like it. And then I'll put a little bit of spinach and tomatoes, and of course, hot sauce I must put on my breakfast burrito. You could even serve it with salsa or a little bit of guacamole or a couple slices of avocado. But what I have here in the picture is just the tortilla, the hash browns, the sausage, eggs, spinach, and tomatoes. That's about 405 calories, 26 grams of protein, and 16 grams of fiber, which is an amazing start to the day. So it's a nice, satisfying breakfast, and this keeps me very full for a very long time. It is much bigger than it kind of looks in the video, but sometimes I can't even finish it because it's just so much food. All right, number 6 on my list are egg bites with what I call breakfast salad. So when I make my egg bites, I actually cook these in a muffin container. So they're a little bigger than the egg bites that you get at, say, Starbucks. They're the size of a muffin. And I eat 2 of them at a time. So this is a really satisfying and filling breakfast. But they're nice. Other people in the household like to eat them. So, they're nice to make in advance. You can put them in a Ziploc bag or a Tupperware container, and they store in the house or in the refrigerator, for 5 to 6 days, just because of the ingredients that's in them once they're fully cooked. So the ones that I'm showing you here, it's 6 eggs, whole eggs that I've beaten with a half a cup of cottage cheese. And then I put sautéed frozen bell peppers and onions, 2 turkey sausages that I cut up into small chunks and added that in there, and then some spinach pieces as well. And then I baked that in the oven at 350. It made 12 of those little egg bite muffin cups. And then I serve it with breakfast salad, which is just one of our family's quick salads. A quick salad is just some sort of greenery, lettuce, spinach, butter lettuce, romaine, whatever you want to put in there. And then cucumbers and shredded carrots. And we just take that out of the bowl when we're hungry, or if our meal didn't satisfy us, or if we need extra fiber, or in the case of breakfast, if we just need something else on our plate, but we don't want to make something else to go with it. This is a great addition. And I just serve it with a light vinaigrette Italian dressing. And so my egg bites with my quick salad, my breakfast salad, is 194 calories. So it's a much lower calorie option. It's 15 grams of protein and 3 grams of fiber. This is a great breakfast that's going to keep me really full, but mid-morning I might get hungry and then I'll have a proffee, or I'll just go ahead and drink a protein shake. So that will help me get an additional 30 grams of protein in my morning, and I will still be under 400 calories. Number 5 on my list is a hash brown avocado toast. Yes. So this is a little concoction I came up with. There was some trends going on with hash browns a few years ago, and I made this up and I loved it back then, and I still love it now. So what I do is I get one of those Ore-Ida hash brown patties. I air fry it. Again, you could cook it in the toaster. The toaster does a great job on these. Couple minutes on one side, flip it a couple minutes on the other, but I like to toss it in the air fryer so it's extra crispy. So I take my hash brown patty, I take half of an avocado and mash it down so it almost looks like guacamole texture. And then I also get a half a cup of cottage cheese. Half a cup of cottage cheese. I mix it because I like my cottage cheese blended and not lumpy. And I kind of stack it. So it's the hash brown, the mashed avocado, the cottage cheese. I'll add 1 egg that I tend to fry over hard. That's my preference. And then I add everything but the seasoning for some nice salty extra flavor. And I serve it with fruit, about a half a cup of strawberries and a 1/4 cup of blueberries. So this hash brown avocado toast is about 379 calories, 13 grams of protein, and 8 grams of fiber. It's a lot of fiber to start your day. And it's a really great calorie range for a day when I'm going to lead a morning workout. So I really enjoy this breakfast. And it's something that I ate before I made all of these changes to my lifestyle. So it has a little nostalgia in there for me as well. Number 4 on my list is my favorite late spring, early summer breakfast, and it is an acai bowl. So if you haven't had acai before, it's a really yummy fruit, and you can buy these little acai packets in the frozen section where they have frozen fruit at your grocery store, like the smoothie mixes, and that's what I use. So I get one of those, I just let it thaw on the counter for a few minutes, and then I pour it into the bottom of a bowl, and then I'll get some frozen strawberries and blueberries, maybe a banana, and I mix it up in the blender like a smoothie, and I pour that over the top of the acai. Now, you could mix this all together. The acai could go in the blender too and just make it more like a smoothie and then pour that in the bowl. Totally fine. And then what I do is I just top it with some really fun stuff. So this one in the video, I have topped with some strawberries and blueberries, a little bit of, I also mixed in some protein powder. So what I'm mixing in the blender, I add a scoop of Premier Protein vanilla protein powder to it just to get some extra protein in my morning. And then once I put all of that in the bowl, I topped it with a little bit of chia seeds, a little bit of ground flax, some protein granola. I like the kind one. And then just some sliced extra fruit to make it pretty. It's fun to eat that way. So it's a really fun, beautiful breakfast, and it's nice and filling, and it's full of fiber. So, the acai bowl in the video is 398 calories, 31 grams of protein, thanks to the protein powder, and 11 grams of fiber, which is an amazing way to start the day. All right, we are in the final 3 of my favorite protein packed breakfasts. So let's dive into them. Number 3 on my list is an egg muffin sandwich, which is something that I didn't really enjoy before I was on this journey, but let me tell you, I have a newfound appreciation for these. So, once upon a time, I could have gone through a drive-thru and gotten like an egg muffin sandwich, or like an English muffin sandwich. I never would have chosen that. But I found these English muffins at the grocery store that were gluten-free, and I really liked them. And then just recently, my husband got me the Udi's brand one, which Udi's brand with gluten-free stuff can be hit or miss. But these English muffins are delicious. They're very yellow, so they don't look like a traditional English muffin, but they taste so good, in my opinion, as a person who can't have gluten. But you could use regular English muffins. So I just take the English muffin, I toast it up so it's nice and crispy. I add an egg, so I fry my egg over hard, but you could put it however you like. And then I take a turkey sausage patty, a slice of cheddar cheese, a little bit of spinach, a little tomato, and then I serve it with some berries. Raspberries and blueberries are my favorite. And like I said earlier, raspberries are super high in fiber, so they're great for breakfast if they're in season and they're affordable. I always get them when they're on season or when they're in season and the price is down on them. So as I have it in this video, this English muffin breakfast sandwich is 468 calories, 22 grams of protein, and 9 grams of fiber, which is just an incredible way to start the day. And I have to tell you, at under 500 calories, this meal fills me up as if I ate significantly more calories. It's delicious. I couldn't finish it, honestly, but it's very, very tasty, and it's on my menu for the next few days. All right, number 2 on my list is oatmeal with protein powder and then a topping. So I like to change up the way that I make my oatmeal, but it's really nice on like a cold morning when you really just want like a nice, warm, nostalgic breakfast. So I get some quick oats. I use gluten-free ones, but you can use whatever you want. You can even get the microwavable packets if you want, but I like to cook mine on the stovetop. I cook mine with water, but I know lots of people like to cook them with milk, and that's fine too. I cook them up. Once they're fully cooked, then I add a scoop of protein powder to get that extra protein in there, and then I add flavor like toppings so I can't taste the protein powder in there. So in this one in the video, I have added some PB2 into it, so it has like a peanut buttery flavor, and then strawberries and blueberries, raspberries and blackberries on top. This is so delicious, and the difference between the hot oatmeal and the cold fruit is really, really tasty. But there are other ways that you could kind of spice this up or change it up. I guess I shouldn't say spice because it's not spicy, but there's different ways you could kind of change up your oatmeal. You could put different types of fruit on it. You could do peanut butter, like drizzle peanut butter or mix in PB2 and slice a banana in there for peanut butter banana. You could do strawberry with a little Greek yogurt, so it's kind of like strawberries and cream. Chopped up apples with cinnamon for an apple cinnamon breakfast, blueberries in there. You can even put a little bit of maple syrup or honey and then put a little fruit in there as well. Honey and banana is delicious. Maple syrup with a few blueberries is very tasty. So there's lots of ways that you could change this up, but the one that I love the most is the one in this video, the protein powder with the PB2 mixed in and just a bunch of fruit on top. And so as it is in the video, that is 324 calories, 26 grams of protein, and 10 grams of fiber, which is just a nice hearty breakfast with a really great protein and fiber count for not too many calories. So it's a really great start to the day. All right, friends, we've made it to my number 1 high protein packed breakfast item on my list. This is my absolute favorite protein breakfast since I've started on this wellness journey. And I found this one from an Instagram recipe creator, and I've shared her recipe in other videos, and it's Emma Peterson's baked oats, specifically her blueberry baked oats, but she has a ton of baked oats recipes, so you can kind of change these up just like you can with the oatmeal. But my favorite ones are these blueberry baked oats. It's 2 bananas. I put protein powder in there because I can't get the items that she uses. She's in a different country, so I had to kind of tweak things to fit what I had in my household and what I could have access to. So I put a scoop of the Premier Protein vanilla powder in there, milk, gluten-free oats, a little bit of baking powder, and then I get frozen blueberries and I put a little maple syrup and microwave that just like she says in the recipe. And then I add a little bit of Greek yogurt, bake that up, and then when I serve it, one of those big trays makes about 6 servings. And when I serve it, I put extra Greek yogurt on top, about a half a serving. And then I drizzle it with a little bit of PB2. It's so delicious. It is savory and warm and comforting and really, really filling. It's honestly one of the most filling breakfasts that I have on this list. And I always feel like a little kid just enjoying this breakfast. It's so satisfying. So this one, the blueberry baked oats, is 332 calories per serving, 25 grams of protein, and 3 grams of fiber. So not as much fiber as I'd love. You could always serve it with some extra fruit or a breakfast salad if you wanted, but man, 25 grams of protein for 332 calories is not half bad. So that is my list of my personal preferences for recipes. Many of these I have shared over time in my What I Eat in a Day videos, but if you're looking for how I put together one of these specifically, let me know in the comments below and I'll share how I put them together. Unfortunately, many of the things that I do are just like made up creations and there's no actual recipe, but I'll do my best to tell you exactly what I've put in them and how I cook them so that you can recreate it if it's something that you want to try for your own wellness journey. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, if you haven't already, I would love for you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you're doing to move yourself forward in your journey in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.